and it was like we'd had a bit of a kind of a slower year the year before, trying to get the producer we wanted, trying to get this album up. So we were like, do you know what, 2020, this is our year.
I'm Adam, and this podcast is all about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new record you have coming out in a couple of weeks now.
That's cool. Yeah,
very
wicked.
Cool. Awesome. Well, are you all from the same part of, or you're all from London, or no?
No, we're not all from the same place, nor do we live near each other anymore, because post-pandemic everyone has left London.
Okay.
And so I was born in the Lake District, which is the north of England, and grew up in the Midlands, and now I live just outside London in a place called Essex.
Okay. How long were you moving around quite a bit, or did you move like in college for college or
no, so my dad's from the States, and he got a job in a really pretty place called the Lake District. And then he fell in love with my mum, which worked out well for me. So he got a job just anywhere that would take a wayfaring American, and somewhere at Birmingham, which I don't know, maybe felt familiar to him. He got a job in Birmingham. So lived there, and it was a cool place to grow up. And then as you get into music, I think everyone just moves nearer London. Okay. It's like you kind of go, okay, this is the epicenter of music. So then made my way nearer where I could get work.
Cool.
so near London it was.
Where in the States is your dad from?
He's from upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I mean, basically Canada.
Sure. Right. It's super close there.
But yeah.
Well, how did you get into music? What was the first instrument you learned?
I started singing before I was doing anything else. So before I was, I would sing all of the time. And then, I wasn't the kid that was shy of singing. They'd say, will you sing? And I'd say, yeah. And then it would come to the end of all of the songs I knew. And so I'd just start making up songs. So I started songwriting young. Okay. Not sure it was very good, but it was committed. And then piano. And just, played, but didn't love it as a kid. Like, kind of didn't love the formality of the kind of piano lessons that I guess you would do. But getting
the
older,
scales and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I was a poor student where like the actual having to dedicate, being bad at something. I was at that age where I wanted to do stuff I was good at. And I didn't want to do the stuff I wasn't good at. So I wasn't good at modes. And I wasn't good at scales, but singing and like just chords, I was fine at. So I know it's always there. So yeah,
I love that. Yeah, because I was gonna say I couldn't. Where did that come from? I see the guitar
chord.
Just gonna bring it in at any point, just to punctuate this.
I love
this
that. Very cool. Okay. Well, how about you, AJ? Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in Germany actually. My dad was in the army when I was born, and he was just leaving basically. So he left the army and Germany about 6 weeks after I was born, and then they moved to kind of near London actually, just outside of London, and we lived there till I was about 10. Mm-hmm. And then we moved to Bristol, which is quite close to where I have returned. Okay. Folks still live quite close. But yeah, during the pandemic, my wife and I, we came out to, we kind of got stuck with my parents actually for 3.5 months. We thought we would pack a suitcase for 2 weeks. We're like, yeah, we should get out of London while this is all hotting up.
Right.
And we got there, and then the news came about, like we had a lockdown here, and but it did make us rethink a lot of stuff about being in the city. It did used to mean like when we were all probably like a bit younger, like it was the place you had to go for jobs. Like, we loved to perform. There were auditions, we kind of all did different things and stuff. And with music, the music business is there, and going to meetings and going to gigs and putting on gigs. It just, for a long time, I think it seemed like it was an essential part of like trying to make a go at the kind of the career. But with the world we've woken up to, actually, and especially like I think with where we've kind of like fortunately been able to get to with recording albums and then doing tours, we kind of went, well, actually, yeah, when we tour, we kind of just tour. And the rest of the time, you know, we get together and do our thing. But we don't need to be in London anymore. So, yeah, we found a place during the, just after the lockdown, and managed to kind of move out here to the West Country.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because now you don't really need to be what you can. There's a photo of on your Instagram, I think, you're all in Zoom, I believe, or there's a Zoom picture. Is it just like, because now you can just do that, right? For writing sessions and everything else?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the same, you know, especially for writing, but, you know, we've had to make it work. And that by doing that, you kind of go, this is easier in some ways because we don't all have to get on a train for 200 miles or whatever.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, you do miss that kind of everybody in real time in a room, like going, and here's an idea, and here's an idea, and here's an idea.
Right.
It's just kind of like measure each other, isn't it? Like without lag and all being in a room, as we discovered lately when we got together again for the first time in a while.
Was it different in person again? Like shaking the rust off a little bit or no?
Oh yeah, for sure. But like just feeling it, like just feeling the difference of that is massive.
Do you feel like when you write on Zoom, it's more like you have to come prepared and more like business? Like you have to be like, there's not as much as like, oh, hey, and like, you know, kind of chatting and doing other things, where like you get on Zoom and it's like, okay, I have my, here's my idea. Like, let's hammer this out. And it's not as much just like chatting. Or
what do you think? Do you think it's the? I kind of think sometimes it depends. But
I
like,
guess you guys have known each other for so long, it wouldn't be that weird.
We always talk.
I think sometimes I think when we're in a writing session, you know, and we're in a room together, the writing session generally finishes when the song's finished, or we've kind of got like a good plan in place and we've got something there. But what happens with Zoom is it's like, if we don't really get the ball rolling pretty quick, you can end up like leaving and you haven't lived with the song long enough. So I feel like, you know, if you're really on it in a Zoom session, you're like, right, let's get some stuff recorded, it's great. But if not, it can be like, cool, we'll have a 4-hour Zoom call. We spend 2 hours talking about, you know, the weather, or you know, what we've done, or politics, or whatever is the thing.
Sure.
And then like 2 hours like playing around with an idea of a song, and if you're not careful, you leave going, oh god, they're lovely. I don't think we've got a song there. Whereas like you wouldn't, when you've traveled up to meet, it's not a 4-hour session. You can write a song in 4 hours, but if it takes 12 hours, you take the 12 hours. But I think in Zoom, that's what I think. I think it's like you get a bit more of a get out of jail free card, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, I think.
Sure. I would imagine though, if you're writing with somebody else that you didn't know, maybe it's a little bit more straightforward. But if you guys are, I mean, you all know each other, you've been in a band for a long time, and it's more of, yeah, you can talk whatever for an hour or two, and then we're supposed to write a song.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like that. And even like we co-write quite a lot, and even with the people we co-write, they're like an extension of the band. They're like an extension of us. So it's pretty much the same thing. It does the same thing. And like the guy said, sometimes it is just turns into like a 4-hour therapy session about something, and we don't get a song out of it. But that is essentially what a lot of sessions can be like, even in person. You know, you go in and you chat for 2 hours, and sometimes you get a song out of it and sometimes you don't. But on Zoom, it's a bit more like, right, okay, like you have to kind of focus a little bit harder after that, because when you're in the room, things just kind of spark naturally and you just bounce off each other. Whereas on Zoom, it's a bit more static and you kind of have to go, right, okay, anything we've talked about like sparked anything for anyone?
right. Okay, here's my chord. I started this, and then maybe chatter, and then let's go back to this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Well, AJ, how did you get into music? I'm gonna come to you, Chess. Don't worry, real quick.
Wow. Well, apparently, my folks played me a load of music from when I was really little. But my nan and my parents always said like I was singing songs when I was like 1. Wow. And that was just a weird little kiddie. But then I was very shy. I realized as I got older, when I was a teenager, I used to sing to myself and for myself for like, you know, for pleasure, and sing with choirs when I was a little kiddie, and everyone you had to play the recorder. I don't know if you had to do that over there.
Oh yeah, the recorder.
Yeah, the recorder. And that was kind of a thing. And I loved music, and I always like went around with my little Walkman on, listening to all sorts of weird stuff, from like just the theme from the Ghostbusters that we'd taped off the telly to like the Planet Suite, you know. But then when I became a teenager and I started to get into music in different ways, through like I discovered like contemporary music. I used to listen to a lot of old music because of what my parents used to listen to, and then that kind of got me onto a bit of a backwards thing. Then I started to get really into rock and roll music. So I think I got a bit down when I was about 15, 16, and like was listening to a lot of Radiohead, and you know, I started writing songs and being in a band with a couple of my close pals, but was so nervous about singing I wouldn't do it in front of anybody. So it actually took another good friend of mine roping me into a music competition in front of the whole school, which I didn't know about. And he had signed me up and was like, came to the day, and I was just going to support him because he had all this confidence, you know, to go put himself forward for stuff. So I'd go like, oh, I'm going to go support you, do this thing. And then he's like, oh yeah, and you've got to come up and sing. I think it was Crazy Little Thing Called Love or something like that. He's like, I put you down. I was like,
oh my gosh.
I had a breakdown, but I had to do it because the whole school was there. So, and after that, I kind of started to love it. And then I got into rock and roll again, and like started to like go, oh, what was that music that I used to listen to when I was a kid? What made me really happy? And then I thought, it was rock and roll. Like, who is the biggest person in rock and roll that I can go and buy a CD of from a shop right now? And I was like, it was Elvis Presley. And I went straight to a shop and bought this Elvis CD, and then I just shut myself away forever, listening to music and like trying to copy all these artists that I really liked. Until eventually I had to go to university. I left London, all my friends and my bands that I had, on my own, trying to teach myself the guitar. So I just started playing in pubs and bars and things, trying to get better, and lived with a few people, fortunately, that were better guitar players and writers and more confident than I was. So we kind of like bounced back and forth for a few years. And then until eventually I got a job in sales, and then took an open audition for a theatre show, got a theatre job, got a rock and roll band when all that stuff fell apart, and then met these guys. That was sort of like condensed. I tried to like wrap up quickly at the end.
No, I love that. I know what's funny to me is I've heard the story before, not your story, but obviously where someone is very shy or doesn't want to get in front of people, and then they end up doing like the school talent show. And that always blows my mind, because I would think that would be the most terrifying thing ever. Because first of all, like high school, middle school kids are awful. They're mean. And then you're in front of all your peers that you're going to have to see every day following that. And if you totally screw up, like they're going to know and remember that for like probably ever. They're going to just be known as that kid.
I'm sweating now. Just
right. But it's like, I don't know. It's crazy to me to think that.
Luckily, that first time it went well, but like a band that we got together on the back of that thing with this newfound confidence, like we've got to get a band together. I remember the first gig that we ever did. I had to play this like note on an electric guitar, and I just like got this electric guitar, and I was like, I can't really even play the guitar at this point. I was like, all you've got to do, AJ, with the band is play this one note, and it was like, yeah, you got 2 bars, and then you come in with that. And it was our first big gig as a band, and everyone started. The guys were really cool. They were like jamming it. They played instruments, and I was like, yeah, here I go. All I've got to really do is hit this note and just scream, like make some squealing noises. And it was so out of tune, like, but I didn't know what to do as a guitarist. Like at the time, I was like, what do you do when your guitar's this out of tune? Keep going, I guess. And so I just played the whole song, and it was awful. And then yeah, that stayed with me as well.
That's funny, but at least it wasn't in front of all the people that you knew growing up, right? I mean, if it's a bunch of patrons at a bar, it's like, well, they're
exactly.
Probably not going to remember.
Thank God, nothing like that happens anymore. Now we're in a professional band. It's not like we ever make any mistakes on stage.
Of course, yeah, no, you're just flawless.
Those days are behind us.
Well, Chess, where were you born and raised?
I was born in the South, in a place called Kent, and moved out when I was like 18, moved to London, lived in London for about 10 years. And then similarly, recently have moved out of the city and back into the country, but I've moved north this time. So so I'm kind of up north now, in between here and London when I need to be. But yeah, it's just like, I think, like you were saying, AJ, it's just this last kind of year and a half has given everyone a bit of time to think and a bit of perspective on, like, you know, where you need to be and really where you need to be, and you know, where you're happy and what makes you happy. And sometimes it is just like making that step in just going, we don't need to be in London. I think also because we're not 18, you know, we're not like, we're not like living in London going like, yeah, I just want to like do everything. We're kind of like just a little tiny bit older than that. Not much, just a bit. And so I think that's just, we've kind of all gone, you know, we kind of want quality of life over like paying £1,000 rent to live in a room in London. You kind of start to look at it and go, no, it's not really making me happy anymore. I don't really need to be here. This isn't great. Yeah. So we are all over the country, literally.
I love it. That's yeah. I mean, once you get older, you're like, I don't really need to be, like you said, living in this one little room for this much money. It's more like just to go out and meet people and just have that experience. And then it's like, okay, I'm done with this.
Done it. Yeah. We kind of all did it for, you know, enough time to realize that. Yeah. To realize that we were like, nah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. You just need that little kick to go to make the move.
There you go. And how did you get into music, Chess?
Very similarly, was like singing from about 2, and I had a really, really great music teacher from a very young age, and she kind of saw that I had quite a natural talent, and so I would sing. I was like the lead part in all the school shows from about 3 and a half. And only recently found out that apparently all the other parents were really angry about that, because I mean, some of them couldn't even talk yet. And I couldn't talk that well, but I was singing pretty well. And I could just remember lyrics and words like from a really young age. Can't remember a script, but can remember lyrics and words. But yeah, so and I just carried on. I've never really known anything else. My family is quite musical. My uncles were both in music and kind of singer-songwriters and kind of producers, and I just grew up around them and around their music and around their influence, and we're really like quite a close family, and it just seems like I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'll do. Obviously, like I'll do the same thing. Even though that it wasn't always a job for them, like a lot of musicians, it's like doesn't always make money, but that was kind of all I'd really known. And so when I got to like making a choice of like what I was going to do with my life at however old you are, 16, 18 or whatever, I got into like a couple of good music schools when I was 16. Well, a good music school when I was 16, but I felt too young to move out and to be doing it. So I thought I'd wait until I was 18. And I did my A-levels. And I was doing like a lot of performing arts. So I danced as well from a very young age. So I was doing kind of dance and drama and music and all of that. So I got my A-levels and then got into a really good performing arts college to do a degree in musical theatre. And at the time, I mean, I was playing, I taught myself guitar when I was 16 and obviously had all that kind of music going on, but I didn't really see a lane in music at that. When I was 18, I was like, I want to get a degree in something, but I don't know what. And all I can do is sing. Literally in my head, I'm going, all I know how to do is sing and I can dance and act a bit. So, and I got this place and I was like, I've got to go. I think it's just going to be an amazing experience. And I'm really glad I did, even though I've not ended up there. it taught me so much. And actually, had I not done that, I probably wouldn't have met these guys, because it was through mutual friends that I had from musical theatre that I got introduced to these guys. So you know how things just like line up and work out. You just so yeah, so I did one show out of college and then met the band. So yeah, I was about 20, I think I was 24 when I met you guys. Yeah, so I turned 30 last year, so
happy birthday. And did you was this your first band then? Because you're from that theater world. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was. And I'd done like open mics, and I'd like, so I was teaching like my friend's guitar, and it was all very like low key, and I was just like playing at like little open mics and just singing like little covers of things and little songs that I'd written myself. And like, because I'd started that when I was about 16, so I carried on doing that alongside my training.
Okay, so you were writing songs earlier than when you joined the band. Okay.
Yeah. And then it just, I mean, I said it to the guys at the time, and like they'll remember it and say the same thing. But when we first met as a band, it was so crazy, because we'd all got to certain different points in our lives, but we'd all got to a point where we were like, need something else, need to do something, like something, you know, something's going to change, something needs to change. We're all working X, Y, and Z jobs to stay in London and pay extortionate rent. And when we met and we started singing together, it was just like something really, really weird, something really strange that I find really hard to explain and put into words. But I remember leaving and ringing my dad, and he was like, how was it? And I was like, Dad, it was so weird. It's like we've known each other ages, but we haven't. And like whatever happened, we just have to go and do it again, because it was really good. And so that was kind of that was where we left it. And we were like, all right, well, we'll see you again on this day at this time. Yeah, okay, cool. And so we just kept on going back, because whatever was happening was feeling really good and like working for some reason, even though we were complete strangers.
Wow. Well, so was the band already going? Tara, you and AJ were already playing, and then Chess, you joined with them, or how did the whole thing kind of come together?
So there was a guy who was in the band to start with, and me and him had met at a gig we'd done a few years before. And so then we'd kind of caught up and said, like, do you want to do some music? Like, are you still writing? Are you still doing stuff? And so we were introduced to AJ and Chess. But like, I only like had a very kind of, it was one of those kind of passing loose connections with this other guy. And so the first time that we had all met was in that front room, the very, very first time. And all we'd done is, one of us, I don't remember who it was, had written a song, or maybe we'd shared sort of different stuff that we were writing. And so we'd all kind of come in and listened and been like, oh, hey, how are you? And I remember those like first, like kind of judging people, not judging, but reading people in the room and being like, is this going to work? Like, what do you like? Like, what is this? Because like when you see, it will happen, I'm sure. But when you see us together, like a lot of our sort of friends and family and management are like, you'd never put you guys together. Like in 100 years, like you wouldn't see those guys and be like, those three, they would have been best friends at school. They would have like, we're all so different. And there's some kind of beauty in that we have never kind of questioned. Because I do remember that so clearly, Chess, that I remember singing, and I had AJ on, and the other guy was not really a singer, he was a guitarist. So it's that kind of kindred, that space that we shared. It was the three of us, and I had AJ to one side of me and Chess to the other, and I just felt like they were in my head. Like we'd had this song and we were singing it, but there was only a melody part, whatever it was probably someone being like, this is how my song goes, just like that. And so we I
love the fact that you have this keyboard in front of you.
As well.
Just prepared at any point. But
I love it.
And what was so cool was that, you know, like I decided to take my melody, the harmony I was doing higher, and Chess would follow, and AJ would, and then AJ would take it somewhere else. And it was just this really wonderful shared headspace that, you know, I still can't understand or quantify, but it still happens now. Even we had a rehearsal last week, and even down to like the way we breathe, it's like you breathe together, but in this like this really weird, it's hard to explain, which makes it really poor for a podcast. But
it's something you have to experience in person.
But it was really cool. And I sang with my sister growing up. I've sung with loads of people. The only thing, much like the guys, the only thing I've ever been any good at is singing, like literally nothing else. And I've sung with loads of people, and I've never ever got close to what I have with these two. It's bonkers, and it's really cool.
That is so cool. So you all met kind of through mutual friends then that kind of took you all together. And then once this practice happens, does Wandering Hearts form pretty soon after that? Because it's like, oh, we got it. We have to just keep doing this. This is going to be a band.
Well, kind of, wasn't it? But we were, because we were all doing different things. We were all at the time we were trying to just grab any opportunity that we could when we knew we were going to be around, or at least like we'd set a date and just go, guys, rehearsal then. But you know, we were you know, sometimes we're on different parts of the world, and we'd be communicating, and basically as soon as I think it was the second rehearsal where we got together and recorded this song. We recorded a song and just put it onto SoundCloud, and it was something crazy. It was less than half an hour. It was something like 26 minutes, I think. Ridiculous. Like, stays with us because it was so bonkers at the time. Uploaded it, and a short time later we got a message from our management saying, hey, we just found your stuff on SoundCloud. Like, I used to work for Sony, and like I'm, you know, just looking around, like I run a management company and blah, and let's have a chat. And we were like, first, you know, you'd kind of go, right, okay, what is this? We're gonna meet in a crowded place.
Yeah. So this is somebody that just had heard a few songs that you guys had recorded and threw up on SoundCloud?
Literally just gone onto SoundCloud, like looking for music, and 26 minutes like after we had uploaded this, us just practicing a song for our sake, just to have a record of it, really, more than anything else, he'd just found it and gone, oh, just found this. Then at that point, like that then started us like having to think about, you know, approaching record labels to get deals and like publishing and stuff. Once that started happening, like we all started to like go, oh right, okay, this is a thing. Like whatever else we're doing, like okay, guys, like I think it suddenly started to become very apparent that was going to be our job and our career. And so like, yeah, at that point everything kind of drew us in. But it was we were all over the shop for about a year. Just trying to get time when we could, that we were all in the same place in the same country for long enough. So we didn't get that many rehearsals in the early days. That's why it was like the second rehearsal, we're like, guys, we've got to record this song, you know.
Well, so, but I mean, after you get this meeting, didn't just make you guys go, okay, this is something real, we should pursue this? Or was that?
I think it was that, wasn't it? Like, sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say, to start with, we were just so genuinely concerned that this man that had messaged us was a predator, because we were just like, what's the chances that you've done this? And we were just like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, I remember being so cynical and being like, because how many, you know, we all know so many astoundingly kind, wonderful, skilled musicians who have never been given a record deal, or who have never been able to have the opportunity to make music in a way that they didn't have to have another job. So what we meet, and it's like, we're good, but like, are we that good? I'm not sure. So it's like, you know, you meet and you're going, to have somebody go, I really believe in this. I don't know, it just felt a little bit, maybe we were a little bit jaded, but it felt a little bit too good to be true. And then, you know, when we met him, really nice man, still our manager, like love him very dearly. It's, you know, it led to all these wonderful things. And I hear so many people talk about their management and go like, not their management, but in general, they'll say, you know, oh, you know, I don't know, management's a bit dodgy. our management, we would not be where we are now without them. They are the biggest part of our team, without question. They're huge. But to start with, we didn't know that they were absolute legends. So I just was concerned that maybe they were going to try and kidnap Jess. So I was, just protecting.
Like when we get together, like as individuals that are getting to know each other, especially when you're getting a band together, most of the time, like those early days, we're all sharing horror stories, and like our experience of the industry so far, and hence why we're all so jaded, I think, and sharing this like collective cynicism that we had all acquired over like years of like banging what felt like smashing your heads against walls. Sure. So like I think we're all kind of like probably built each other up a bit to like expect the worst.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so hard to make it, right? And then to have something happen like that, where you just put a practice up and then 26 minutes later, somebody's already messaging you from like a legit person saying, hey, I want to reach out. Like, I could see how you're like, okay. Like, is this a bot of some like creep that just like finds people online? Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's wild. So you obviously take the meeting, and it's not with a predator, which is good.
And as Tara said, he is still our manager. And we kind of from there, it kind of snowballed and it all moved quite quickly. From once we'd kind of, like the guy said, we were kind of all over the place doing other jobs and trying to kind of tie up those kind of loose ends, because we'd taken contracts for other things, and so we kind of had to see all of that through before we could fully kind of commit. But obviously, when it comes to like deals and stuff, that all does take quite a long time anyway. So it was a kind of a year probably of lining all of those things up, and within that year we signed to Decca Records and signed a publishing deal, and we're writing our first album. And we didn't have time to stop and think about what was going on, because it all literally happened so quickly, and we were kind of thrown in at the deep end, really, like none of us having really signed a major record deal before, and to that scale. So we were learning on the job. But it was great fun. It was great fun having each other to bounce off of, and also having a team that we really trusted, because there are some traps. There is always traps in the music industry that you don't want to fall into, and so we had amazing guidance, and we had amazing people around us, and we built our team of people that we just loved, going to like agents, and we just started to kind of expand and build on that, and then we started, I guess, I don't know what happened. I don't know what came first. I think we made the record and put the record out, and then we started touring.
Is that right? That's it. Yeah, because we'd I think when we first started getting together, and when we got signed to Decca, we had made a demo of this song, which we were like, this is gonna be a single. Like, we're pretty sure of that. And Decca really liked it, and they really liked the production on it. And basically just kind of got a green light to go ahead and make this record of songs that were kind of in keeping with it, basically, that kind of fit that mold. And it was at a point, really, obviously we were a new band, we were getting to know each other, we hadn't toured really, we hadn't played many shows at all, so we had to get out on the road and figure the songs out, after having recorded them, which was a weird way of doing it, but it really helped inform our sound going forward for us, for live shows, for recording the second album, and everything, really. So it was all part of the process.
So what year was it? Because you put the record out in 2018, so you haven't been a band for a whole lot of years, right?
Yeah. And you said that then, and you were, did we put the record out and then we tour? And I was thinking about this, all the weird stuff that happened. So you're right, the album came out in the end of January, beginning of February 2018. But one of the first gigs we got off the back of our wonderful agent was they said, oh, Tom Petty is going to be playing Hyde Park with Stevie Nicks and the Lumineers. And we didn't have an album out then, guys. And I totally had forgotten. And so that weekend, we on the Sunday we supported Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, but the day before that we supported Bryan Adams at Cornbury Festival, and that was all before an album came out. So like just thinking about that utter baptism of fire, like that's so 2018 that album came out, but we played those festivals well, thank God, because we've had a quiet 18 months. So
right, but I mean to play with 4 legends right out the gate, I mean that's pretty impressive. I mean, at that time, 2018, the Lumineers were huge, I'm sure, because they still had Hey Ho out at that point.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, that's just crazy. I remember they did that tour. They came through the States.
That was the last UK, that was the last European date he did before he passed away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. My wife and I had a chance to see him like a month or two before he passed away too. He played this festival we're from San Diego, California, but we moved to Nashville. But he played this thing called Kaboo. It's like it was a newer festival they put kind of on the water. It was really rad. But he headlined it and we saw him and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, he doesn't look that good. Like, but it wasn't like a thought in my mind until after the fact, you know what I mean? But he still sounded great. And like to see him, I mean, to play with him.
We thought the same. He there was a camera from behind him that I don't think he realized was on, and he was on a lot of painkillers, I think, at the time. And I remember him. Do you guys remember? He just kept turning around.
And you'd see the kind of like expression change when he thought he wasn't well.
Yeah.
So he'd turn and kind of act like everything's great, and then he'd turn back kind of around.
There's a guy just literally like on his shoulder, basically, that was kind of like staying out of his field of view, but like filming like with a kind of like steady cam on the stage, and like just getting stuff like that. And I think he just, as a result of that, like because he hadn't been in his view, he probably hadn't registered he was there, but he was just like getting all this like, oh, look at him playing guitar close up, and like
right.
Also would catch these moments where he'd turn away and be like, just wincing a little bit and be like, meant to see.
That's awful. I mean, but to say you guys played with him, I mean, that's something.
And it was incredible, like you said. Like the show was fantastic.
And that was like so 2018 was like so much happened that year. Obviously, like put the record out, but then we did a big headline tour at the end of 2018. But was it before that? It must have been before that when we met Marty.
2017, so the album came out in January 2018, so 2017 was the BST year, so the Nashville big thing would have been that summer 2018 after the album.
Oh, you guys came to Nashville and did a big thing?
Would that be the year? Oh, now
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember.
Let's look at the poster.
Look at the poster. 2018, June 8th, 2018.
Yeah.
You guys are so prepared with all your stuff. I love it.
So that was our first international show that we played was at the Ryman Auditorium. Was this the Late Night Jam, Marty Stuart's Late Night Jam? And I'll just read.
I want to see this again. I love this.
I'll just read you the lineup. So it was Marty Stuart and his Fabulous Superlatives, Chris Stapleton, John Prine, Margot Price, Dale Jett, Connie Smith, Gary Mule Deer, The Wandering Hearts, Roger McGinn and Chris Hillman, the Grand Ole Opry Square Dancers.
Oh my gosh.
That was a night.
That is a night. Wow. That's like so many Nashville legends on that lineup too. I mean, wow.
So we did that. Wow. That was the first show. And then that one that Tara was showing you was the second. That was the Grand. Well, that was when we played the Grand Ole Opry for the first time.
That's crazy. That means so many bands would kill to play the Grand Ole Opry, and to right out the gate, you guys got to do it.
So all thanks to Marty Stuart. I mean, we supported him on tour over here. when he was touring here, and he was like basically just came into our dressing room after a sound check when we were in Gateshead, and he said to us, "Have you guys heard of the Grand Ole Opry?" And we were like, "Well, yeah." He was like, "Have you heard of the Ryman?" We were like, "Yeah." He was like, "Have you heard of Graceland?" And we were like, "Yeah, yeah." all of those things we have heard of. Yeah,
sure.
He was like, I'm playing some shows there next year, like I'd love for you guys to come out, or like this year, whenever it was, I can't remember. And we were like, well, my God, that would be amazing, but obviously not really believing it until, and like even when we were on the plane, we're going, this isn't real, this isn't happening, it's not, this is this yeah. Someone's pulling it, like someone's having us on, like this really isn't happening. But yeah, so all thanks to Marty Stuart, really. He's been such a huge champion of ours and has really taken us under his wing, and just every opportunity that he's had to support us, he's been there. Mm-hmm. And continues to do so. And it's very cool because he's not only wrote a song on our new album with Connie Smith.
Oh, okay.
He actually is on the track as well, playing guitar and mandolin, and we went to the Cash Cabin in Hendersonville to record it.
That is amazing. I want to talk to you about the new record. I'm curious to know, like, putting that second album you guys put out in 2019, was that something that they always say, like, the sophomore record is the make it or break it record? Was that even a thought in your mind at all when you're putting the album out, or did you just, like, because everything was kind of happening so quickly, it wasn't even a thought?
No, not particularly. Was that the EP you mean?
Or the deluxe?
The deluxe.
The Wild Silence.
I think we'd written so many songs to that first album that it just made sense to like add some more songs and do a deluxe, because like we had more songs to go with it. So yeah, it did kind of make sense. But again, one of those things that people tell you that that's a good thing to do, so you kind of go, okay, cool, okay. Like let's do that.
Well, add some more songs and put it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
oh, sorry, Age.
No, go ahead. Everybody go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but in my head, I don't know about you guys, like that just all feels like it's still album one. Like the deluxe and the other one, that still feels like that was like Wild Silence was like their first album, and then like this is like album two. Like that's how I would see it.
Yeah.
It's weird actually, because of the extended thing. Like we did have to do, like, there was obviously more work and more recording that went into it, but it didn't feel like the same thing as like the first album being like, this is the album. We had written like a lot of other songs that were probably like quite in keeping, like they fit in we were in a similar headspace when we were writing those as we were writing some of the songs that made the album originally. But I think because of that, like it fitting together really well, and like timing wise, our sound had progressed a little bit since the first album had been recorded. Like we'd said, like we'd played a few more shows by this point, so it gave us an opportunity to kind of put some of the material that we'd brought together, but in a way that we had been working on since we'd started playing out a bit more and getting more experience playing live. So that in a way it was a sort of like a sort of Wild Silence 0.5 or whatever they do when they do like updates,
Yeah.
Well, okay, so where were you guys at when the whole pandemic hit? Because the EP came out this year, right? Earlier this year?
Yeah, so we've released about five songs so far from this new album. So obviously the plan was supposed to release it. We were supposed to release it last year. But all of that changed, and like everything else, we've kind of just gone with the flow a little bit because we've had to. But I think it's all going to work out. Hopefully going to work out really well for us. So we finished recording the album in March 2020. And we recorded it in Woodstock in upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains. And we had about a month of touring off the back of that in the US. So we had loads of shows planned, loads of shows booked. So we kind of started those shows. And then the president at the time told us that we had to leave Otherwise we'd be stuck there. So we had to fly home. We were in Nashville when we flew home. We'd based ourselves in Nashville, and we were just flying to the shows that we had to do, because we weren't kind of sure what the next thing was. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to play the next show or not. So we played as many as we I think we managed like 3 shows after recording. And then we had to fly home. So which was such a shame. But we finished the record, which was the main thing.
Yeah.
So so the songs that you've been releasing, there's like 5 or 6 songs that are out now, and those are all going to be on the new record. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, I was confused myself. Okay.
I know it calls itself an EP, I think, on like Spotify.
On Spotify, when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it calls it an EP, but they're just all singles like that we've released from this new record.
Got it. So the record was recorded in March 2020.
Yeah.
And then you were going to do a big release and tour, and that kind of all came crashing
Yeah,
down.
but we finally, we spent a bit of time in Austin as like normal people, like watching like Austin City Limits, and we got the call to be like, yeah guys, you've got so many gigs at South by Southwest, like you're gonna be going there. Then you've got these,
that was like the big one that got canceled first, right?
It was the first one. And we were supporting Larkin Poe on tour, so we had like gigs across like LA and San Francisco, and we had like festivals in Tampa, and it was like we'd had a bit of a slower year the year before, trying to get the producer we wanted, trying to get this album up. So we were like, do you know what, 2020, this is our year. We knew it. The album was like finished.
Absolutely
in March.
No one's year.
It was finished in March, and we were like gonna have this like amazing like 3-4 months in the States, come back, put the record out, do this small tour, headline these like amazing venues in the UK, and then instead we were like, so cool, so we're gonna push back the album. And I remember being so mad because South by was the first one to get cancelled, and we were like, this is ridiculous, we're still gonna go. So we'd all decided, like all these musicians that we knew, there
was like a whole underground South by Southwest that was gonna happen anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we were like, right guys, we're gonna make it, we're in America, we might as well try, like let's just try it, let's try and go.
Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't heard this story. That's incredible.
Yeah, all of these putting up all these like things going, look, we're not affiliated with South by Southwest anymore, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to still host all the acts. And everyone's like, right, it's still happening unofficially. And then like just at the last minute, the word comes out that actually like it's a severe health risk to like.
Maybe not.
I think it was I'm not very good with like American politics, but I feel like it was like the governor of Austin, whoever's in charge of Austin, basically, he said like, I'm shutting Austin down. So like South by was it the mayor? The
mayor, the governor would be the whole state of Texas, but they're pretty lax. I mean, for quickly after the fact, but.
Well, the mayor, I remember he was like the first person, I think, in America but like one of the first ones, and he just shut Austin down, and he was just like, so I remember just being like, this is so unreasonable. This is so.
We're like, right, okay, what else can we do? What other shows can we go and play? It didn't at the time. It didn't seem that bad. Like. Where it did, like everyone back home was going, you guys have to come home, like things are getting really bad, it's getting really scary, like you can't even buy toilet roll. And we were like, what? No, it's
what a weird thing for everything to go away. I was like, I don't know. That still blows my mind.
Who bulk buys toilet roll? Well, now we know.
Like everyone needs to go, but...
right. There's other things.
Yeah.
But we were in like Tampa. We were in Tampa playing the week before all the borders shut. We played a big festival in Tampa. There was definitely hugging. We played a
casino in Connecticut. Yeah.
It was before all that was like a thing, and then suddenly you go, oh. When you start to see people with masks on at the airport on the way back, and like hand sanitizer pumps becoming a thing, and you're going, really? Is this what's happening now? Like, what the hell?
Yeah. I remember I started to get a bit scared when we flew home, because I saw other people freaking out about flying. Like people were freaking out. like wearing like kind of homemade like hazmat suits, like just like absolute like gloves, like everything. And I was like, oh my God, is this like really bad? This is actually quite bad. Why are people freaking out so much? And then it was like, yeah, we got
scary in the beginning. I mean, that was
it
was really scary.
Then we got home and it was like, yeah, totally. And we got home and it was, that was it. Everything shut down. Like 2 days later, I think we went into lockdown.
Oh,
so
wait. Are you guys? You're not as locked. Are you still locked down there? Because I'm I want to talk to you about this.
Today is
today's
Freedom Day.
Wow.
Apparently, COVID's gone away today here.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was epic yesterday. I'm glad it all shut down today. It went away today.
Oh yeah, it's all free. Everything's open. Go forth and multiply, virus.
Yeah, I saw a meme, I think it was in Instagram, and it was like, hey guys, anyone got any idea what time the pandemic finishes today? I mean, the cases here are like going nuts with this new variant, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, but we're allowed to go and do stuff now. So
well, like there's people, I listened on the radio, I went somewhere and that some girl was like, I'm so excited that nightclubs are open. I'll be there at the nightclubs tonight. I'm going to tell my kids that, you know, after 16 months of no nightclubs, I was there. And I'm like, oh man, like
your kids don't give a shit about
your kids are going to be so proud of you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it opened up here. Like I mean, Nashville opened up like 2 months ago. It was a lot different, and then but the rest of the states opened up, I think last month, like in June 15th, I believe it was like the big Freedom Day for you. Your July 19th.
Freedom Day. What a joke.
Well, you guys, because Nashville's had a bit of a hard. I mean, you guys have had a hard time on top of the pandemic with lots of stuff that's been going on too, right?
We had a bombing on Christmas Eve. I think it was Christmas Day, and then we've just had tornadoes tearing through here, and
we were there a few days after the last like big tornado, so we kind of saw it for the first time, kind of saw it all
when it like smashed East Nashville.
The basement east was flattened. We got there like the day after, and the people we were going to stay with, their house had been so severely damaged. AJ's got like one of his best friends is out there, and their house was damaged, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got off quite luckily though. But like every time there's been one, like I've always gotten of like you message your pals like and you go like, what's the crack? What's going on? And pretty much he's been super lucky, and most of the time it's like, oh no, we escaped that one. This time they had like a bit of damage, but still like got off very, very lightly compared to a lot of other people. So.
That's good. Yeah, because there's like a tornado alley that kind of runs through East Nashville. My family and I were south, like straight south of Nashville, so we kind of missed the thing. I mean, they'll come by and you're like pretty scared. I mean, it's a thing, but it hasn't gotten close enough for us yet. I mean, knock on wood, but I know it's East Nashville always gets hammered pretty hard when it comes to that stuff. So. But well, that's all exciting. You guys get to tour. I mean, I'm sure you're really excited for that. What, coming up the end of next month, about a month away?
So we're just kind of starting to get ourselves geared up for rehearsals for that, which is really fun. And we're hoping to kind of it's been really tough, like getting the momentum after like the last 18 months. Like we'd spent the last kind of couple of years building this momentum for this album, like the whole, like it was all built towards this album. So it's been really tough having lost that momentum, but literally there's nothing we can do, and so many people are in the same position. But we're really, really lucky that we've got amazing fans that have just been so supportive, and we've got an amazing team that have stuck by us and supported us. So we're super, super excited to do this tour August, September, and we're fingers crossed going to be coming out to the States if we can get out there before the end of the year.
Awesome.
So we're trying. I mean, currently it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get a visa, Or any visas, not that Tara needs one. She could come. She's got an American passport.
Yeah,
she could come out.
American dad.
Yeah.
I'll just play my very average piano and some tambourine and sing.
Yeah. But so we're doing that. We're hoping we'll get out for at least for a bit, towards the maybe September, October time, all being well. And then we've got a couple more really exciting things to announce coming up. Awesome. So it's like, it's exciting, it's nerve-wracking, but it's really exciting to be getting that kind of buzz back again, and be getting back in the room and speaking to people again. And
that's exciting. Well, I can't wait till you guys come back out here to the States. That'll be exciting. And I appreciate you all for being here today and talking with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have one more question for you all before I let you go, though. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah. I think you have to, the big thing, I think more than anything, is try and tap into what makes you and what makes you individual. I think nowadays is, everyone has an opinion that they want to share, and they say, this is really of the moment and this is kind of what you should be doing. But if you think back to like what AJ was saying about his love of Elvis, like that probably wasn't cool at the time. Like Chess grew up listening to Simon and Garfunkel, like that probably wasn't cool at the time. But that stuff and those kind of subtle influences are the stuff that when people listen to us, they go, you guys are really cool. I can't put my finger on what am I listening to? But you're not listening to a kind of a generic idea of what you should sound like. We've never, the three of us have never sat there and gone like, what should we sound like? And people have gone, well, could you not be a bit more country, or could you not be a bit more this? And we're like, we just are what we are. And if you really kind of hone in on that and own that, there's something in that can't be replicated. And I think in those idiosyncrasies and those things that make you is really the beauty of what you're doing. So I think my advice to anyone doing it is like, do what you do, and just keep working at it, because it's that like 10,000 hour rule, isn't it? It's like you just you have to keep on, you have to keep being resilient, and don't try and be something else.
I love it.
And find good management. Because honestly, that's the start for anyone that's like looking to get into it. You need someone that you can trust on your side.
Yeah,
and there's lots of really bad ones out there.
There are.
So
I'd add to that and just say, like, if you are somebody that, like, because some people obviously like prefer doing it on their own, like, as well, and they do, like, they can manage to do it, and it blows my mind how they do it when they don't have like a whole team behind them. Because we were kind of all new to this when this all started, and that's one of the great things about being in this band. We were learning together, going like, do you understand what that means? Do you understand why this is important? Why do you have to do this? But and that was really great. But for people that do it on their own, like I have so much admiration. But I think if you as long as you you know what it is, or you find the thing that the reason that got you into something, or like the thing that makes you the most passionate about it, is the thing to like always go back to that, and always like explore that further, and just play to your strengths and try and work on your weaknesses. And I think like if you can do that and just always think about what it is you love about it and what it is that makes you want to share that, you can't go too far wrong. And hey, just keep trying.
I love it.
Bringing it backward.